1801, but you just listen to me. Jefferson just won the presidency, but injurious, delirious, full of rage and furious was Jeff when he found out what Mr. Adams had done. Well, Mr. Adams called up his homies. Said they would be judges and the Senate approved, oh but not so fast. Madison intruded, he kept the commissions, employed some restrictions, and the homie's dream was nothing but a vision. Well, here comes Marbury, asking about his job, but without that paper, he ain't got no job. He took it to court, straight to the SCOTUS, there's nothing denying this man is a bogus. Well, the SCOTUS said the POTUS was wrong in what he did, but they ain't got no power to give him his commission. Now Marbury lost, but the judicial won. The POTUS, the Senate, and every single law, if they stepped out of line, they'd be lit on fire. So listen to your teacher and do some review. It ain't nothing new, judicial review. Now I'm gonna hand it off to my boy JC, he's about to rap some fire. Let's hear it.
1992, there was a kid acting cool. He was such a fool, he brought a gun with him to school. The police arrested him, the feds confiscated him, but he started saying the state should take care of him. So the Fed and the state, they began to fight about who has the right to punish him, alright. They go to the SCOTUS, they present their motives, and sure enough, Lopez was victorious. Gun-free school zones act was deemed unconstitutional. The U.S. overstepped the boundaries of the Commerce Clause. And let's not forget, we always talk about it, this was the time when the devolution started.
Alright, I see you.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about taxing. You hear Maryland wanted to tax the US government? Well, let's hear it. 1819 seems like a dream, but that very same year, there was a great deal of fear. Don't be afraid when I happen to say, one of the states wants to tax the USA. Maryland, home to the Chesapeake Bay, set a tax on all the out-of-state banks. Now the Fed finds out they gotta pay tax, but they don't believe in such ridiculous plans. So they went to the SCOTUS, had a little talk, and sure enough, McCullough won that match. Well, it turns out that taxing this bank violates the Supremacy Clause. Not only that, but the bank is legal. You know, the cost is the elastic clause. Chief Justice said, the Fed is supreme. Yo, Maryland, don't be annoyed, but the power to tax is the power to destroy. Now I'm gonna hand it back to my boy JC. He's gonna wrap up some verse about Engel v. Vital. Preach it, boy.
Once upon a time, in 1962, some schools doing prayers came out in the news. Why was a prayer such a big commotion? Ain't the First Amendment for freedom of devotions? Well, the Supreme Court, United States, said that prayers in school is a giant mistake. Adult prayer in schools was widely exhibited. The establishment cause overrules and prohibits it. I'm gonna hand it back to my boy Lil Bean. He's gonna be rapping about a case about freedom of speech.
1969, the Tinkers drew the line. There's war overseas and they said that ain't fine. So they made some black armaments, took them to school, but their very peaceful protest was soon overruled. Their very own school told them to stop, but the First Amendment is quite hard to block. So here we go, once again to the Supreme Court of the United States. Well, the Tinkers came out victorious. The first incorporated through the 14th Amendment. The district can't control their political business, and let's not forget what Lippmann will teach: symbolic political speech. Man, I feel like I'm on fire. You know what? Let me wrap this next one. It's about religion. Here it goes. 1972. The Yoders stopped going to school. Wisconsin noticed they were getting out of line, and soon enough they had to hit them with the fine. Well, the Yoders complained their children didn't need compulsory education past the 8th grade, so they took it to the SCOTUS, argued different motives, and sure enough, victorious were the Yoders. Another case, another press release. The Free Establishment Clause protects religious beliefs. Yeah.
Hey yo, I ain't gonna let you hog out the beat. Pass it back to me.
Alright, here you go.
Turn up the volume and sound the alarms. We got a new case about the right to bear arms. Well, there was this guy, his name was McDonald. He wanted to own a gun, and the government said, nah, bro. He took it to court, got to the SCOTUS. He made Chicago's law look like a bogus. Court incorporates the Second Amendment to every single state through the 14th Amendment.
Alright, now we're going to talk about Gideon v. Wainwright and the right to legal counsel. In Gideon v. Wainwright, we incorporate the Sixth Amendment to every single state. In 1963, Gideon decided to commit some larceny and try to go unsighted, but someone saw him. Here comes the sirens. He got arrested and had no one to help him. So he went to the library and studied the law. He tried real hard and soon found a flaw. He wrote an explanation to the court of the nation, cause everyone deserves fair representation. The SCOTUS agreed and the case was heard. Gideon won the votes and his sentence was revoked.
What'd I say about hogging that beat?
Oh, you're right, my fault.
New York Times leaked the Pentagon Papers, but at least they played it better than the Lakers when the government sued, seeking prior restraint. New York Times argued freedom of the press. So the SCOTUS said that the freedom of the press had the right to publish the United States mails. The only exception to this election is if it greatly affects the safety of our nation.
Next up is Schenck versus the U.S. In 1919, there was an exception to the First Amendment's freedom of expression. Mr. Schenck composed a draft. He gave out papers, got reported by his neighbors, and faced jail time later. Well, Schenck got in a mood, so he got a lawyer and eventually sued so his cellmates won't destroy him. But the Supreme Court of the United States said that clear and present danger existed in this case. Everything happens for a certain reason. Schenck went to prison because he committed treason. Sort of. So Jay-Z's gonna take a break. I'm gonna rap the rest of these songs. Your boy Lil Bean. Up next is another one of the Supreme Court cases. In 1973, a woman was in need of an abortion, but it caused a big commotion. It caused a great divide. Some people turned pro-life, and some of the others decided she was right. So they went up to the SCOTUS, settled this dispute, but the right to privacy they cannot refute. Roe beat Wade, history was made, and sure enough, abortions would stay. Let's always remember the penumbras were applied through the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Word. Alright, now let's go into Baker v. Carr and Shaw versus Reno. You know, gerrymandering and stuff. Let's get to it. 1962. Laws of gerrymandering were the issue. One man would vote, people would denote. The laws of redistricting the SCOTUS rewrote. Population was the new obligation for redistricting laws of our current nation. Yeah. In 1963, in the home of the brave, racial gerrymandering was taken away. Shaw v. Reno made it to the SCOTUS. Equal protection was their main focus. Strict scrutiny would be applied to ensure the clause would sequentially thrive. Alright, last but not least, we have our Brown versus Board of Ed and Citizens United versus the FEC. In 1954 was Brown versus Board, a landmark decision of the Supreme Court. A student couldn't go to school because color was an issue, but the parents disagreed and they went to the judicial. Yeah. The equal protection of the 14th Amendment protects and defends from racist offenders. The Supreme Court ruled segregation in schools isn't very cool. Word. The year is 2010, and here we are again. People are at the court for funding their campaign. Citizens United was giving party funding, but the FEC thought that was kind of funny. The right to spend money was surely upheld. Political speech is under the protections of First Amendment held. Yeah. Well, guys, I hope you liked it and you guys study hard for that AP exam or any exam you're taking and do your best.